This is the Effing One Podcast, Australia's only Formula One podcast with Adam and Luke.
G'day and welcome to the Effing One Podcast, a podcast that delivers high quality, innovative insight to the world of Formula One. And it's the only carbon offset Formula One podcast. Every listen to this podcast, I will consume an atom of carbon. I also have a solar panel secured to the top of my bald spot, and I'm cycling like a madman to keep the juice in the generator to power up this little shit show. And if it cuts out, you're welcome. It's time to make yourself a cup of tea, sit in your most comfortable chair or fat person, get those pants down to the ankles, prepare the lube, lay back, and shut the hell up! As I delve head first, pants down, into this unfortunate-looking podcast. This week, we'll be talking about the Australian Grand Prix, wrapping that up, giving out awards, and then heading into the Imola Grand Prix San Marino. A fantastic track and a great atmosphere that will be there. From over 400,000 Australians visited the Grand Prix over the weekend, making it the largest sporting event that's ever happened in Australia. Big crowd. We weren't there. That's probably why it was so big. New track, new layout, fast cars, bit of action, bit of crashing, bit of mistakes, bit of dumbassery. And even some of the Formula One drivers got to drive some supercars along the track there. And I'd also like to mention our podcast is proudly supported of the F1 charity Handjobs for the Homeless. Now, if you haven't got down to your local homeless shelter and given a quick wristy to some refugee, by all means, get down there and do your part. Give someone some relief, and they'll enjoy it and they'll appreciate it. You know, you can't give them the world. You can't undo mistakes, but you can just give them a good couple minutes of your time and get them to explode all over, hopefully the floor or some kind of receptacle that can catch it. We've got some talking points from the Australian Grand Prix. We have 3 talking points mainly. The Aston Martin crash fest causes Daddy Stroll to berate the team for crashes. I don't know. It could be for the crashes. There was a lot of them. Lance Stroll was involved in one in qualifying. And Vettel had a car malfunction. Then he crashed. And then he crashed again later on in the weekend in the race. So Sebastian Vettel didn't get many laps in the car. I think it was about 49 laps he got all over on the weekend. But also the car is a bit of a piece of shit. So it's not just that it's unreliable. It's not just that these drivers keep crashing and breaking bits. It's also pretty fucking average because they're finding it very difficult to steal the designs off Mercedes. There's no amount of money that Daddy Stroll's handing out to this young team, which in the grand scheme they've been taken over many times in the past. But ex-Stewart now into the Force Indias, all those ramifications and all of that happened. But now, Aston Martin, big name in F1, and it's failing. This year's car is a piece of shit. And the drivers aren't helping. You've got a billionaire boy who's crashing into Latifi as he's trying to go around him. And then you got Sebastian Vettel, 4-time world champion. His first Grand Prix back since his 2-race time off due to COVID. He had the spicy sniffles, and it's unfortunate that he missed a couple of Grand Prix. He seems a little bit rusty, but this also could be, after a bad weekend like Australia, you would have to think this man is lacking some motivation to keep going and to push this Aston Martin around a track another weekend around the back. Red Bull reliability, handing points to Mercedes. And Russell's second in the championship because of it. So you think about it. Mercedes don't have a very fast car, but thanks to Red Bull being a bit average, especially unreliable, even caught a little bit of fire on Max there. Perez finished second in the race, so they got some points from him, thankfully. But there's a big struggle. If Red Bull, they've got a fast car, but if they can't make it reliable, there's no fucking point. But make it reliable, and then they'll be up there. Is it down to the powertrain? Is it down to a fuel issue, fuel flow, whatever's going on? Red Bulls, they need to sort their shit out, or else Charles Leclerc is going to run away with this. And the Ferrari looks strong enough where it could just keep trudging on and winning races. And if not, finishing second and then carrying the championship away from that point on. Now, the revised Albert Park circuit, a lot of taking away a couple of corners, making it fast and flowing, had 4 DRS zones to begin with. And just as they did, they removed one. They moved away, making it 3 DRS zones. Now, I'm all for more DRS zones. Let's have 20 DRS zones. If there's that many corners, let's go fucking more DRS zones. And the reason why, but it's because just let's have them their rear wing open on very fast corners. Who cares? Let them go. Let them go absolutely crazy. Let them go absolutely mental around this track with their rear wing popped up. If they think they can go around the corner with their wing up, go ahead, do it. But I think every DRS zone should have its own activation point. See, what they were planning to do is have outside of turn 8, there's an activation point, and that's for the next 2 DRS zones. Now, I don't think that's fair. Because if that one person makes a move before turn 9, 10, he can then use the DRS again to get further away. Now, do you want guys battling? So if he makes that move early, then the guy behind will have DRS for the next zone. Give him a battle. Give him a chance. Not just to ride off into the sunset. The DRS should aid and overtake, not make the overtake. So if you're going to make these DRS zones, I don't care how many you put in. Put as many as you can, but have individual detection zones. They have to be within that 1 second for that detection zone before they head on and try and overtake each other. I think one of the drivers had a bit of a whinge, and they had a complaint, and they've gone, you know what, we'll drop it down to 3. I would have preferred 4. Let's just race with it, see what you've got. You've written 4. Let's go with 4. There was an overtake. I think Perez got Hamilton down into turn 9, 10 without that DRS. And there is some benefit of it. But just make it happen. If you're going to say you're going to do 4, just do it. And at the end of it, then you can make your decision for further Grand Prix. Later on, you go, listen, we tried 4, but you didn't try 4. So next year, you're going to go, should we try 4? I think they will. Hopefully they will. Let's see how we go. I think, as I said, more DRS zones. More detection zones. Now, with the podcast, we're F1 Podcast, making F1 great again. That's what we do in the podcast. And now we've got to have an idea that goes along with making Formula 1 great again. And that idea is to have the drivers do a scooter Grand Prix. And after Seb's $5,000 fine for entering the track without permission, it was... Let's just stop there for a second. It was an F1 practice session. So I'm pretty sure Sebastian had permission to be on track. He entered the track without permission. He was driving a car before it stopped. So he had permission to be out there, but probably didn't have permission to drive around on a scooter. But if Nicholas Latifi can crash and drive around on 2 wheels, why can't Sebastian? Let him have it. Give the $5,000 to some kid, just some random kid. Here's your fine. And instead of, putting in the FIA's back pocket, no, just go up to some random kid and hand him $5,000 and a Sebastian Vettel hat. Okay, that's where it's come from. Here's your $5,000. Don't do drugs. Well, don't do the harsh stuff. And at the Nürburgring Grand Prix, you can get all the drugs. The harsh stuff, the good stuff, the soft stuff. Whatever you want, Nürburgring will have it. I think scooter Grand Prix, so all drivers on a scooter racing with the helmet on top of their head, which is another unique idea. We saw Sebastian do it, just popping it on the top there. I think he only wore it because he wanted to cover his bald spot. And I understand that. As a bald man, I understand that. That's why I have the solar panel on the head. Just covers it. I don't want to... It's going to be awkward if if I'm walking around with this shiny chrome dome, all it's doing is disorientating low-flying aircraft when I'm outside in the sun. They're seeing flashing lights from the ground. And what's going on there? Do I need to land? No, that's just a bald fella, me, with a particularly shiny back of the head. You've got to moisturise, keep it shiny. So yeah, the Scooter is quicker than the Aston Martin, but it was deemed underweight, and that's the real reason why Sebastian was fined. The racing was decent, had some good bits, of course. Some Grand Prix are going to have some boring bits, and Melbourne had some boring bits, not going to lie. But I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. First Clerk, second Perez, third Russell. So that's chosen one to the Tier 1 of Tesla and boy George Russell. The awards, the Green Award for lowering your carbon footprint, saving fuel, saving the environment. We give that to Carlos Sainz this week for the Australian Grand Prix. The Likkerton Centre Award for overtaking is that mentioned overtake from Perez on Hamilton just before the safety car. Hamilton probably would have got him back if it wasn't for that safety car. Perez went a little bit deep in 9 and 10, and Hamilton would have had the over-under going down to 11. But safety car came out and saved Perez's blushes. The Pasta Maldonado Award for dangerous driving, we're giving that to Lance Stroll, clearly for his qualifying gaffe, and the brilliance of it is that not only did it bring out a red flag in Quali 1, that gave Aston Martin more time to fix Sebastian's car. I think they'd given up on getting him out. They're like, you know what? It's a couple minutes to go. We're not going to make it. Let's just stop. Then, red flag came out. They all started working on the car again. Sebastian gets his car out. Still gets knocked out in Q1. It's kind of pointless. But great team job there from Stroll, really putting it out there. But for dangerous driving, crashing the side of Latifi, he would look like from his onboard he was looking to the left to see where Latifi was. Turned out Latifi was on his right. I don't know how people do that when they look one way and then they steer the car in the opposite direction. I think it's kind of counterintuitive, but that's Lance Stroll's way. Everything Lance Stroll does is counterintuitive. It's not something you or I would do. Not at all, but it is something that he does, and that's why he's unique. That's why he's strong, he's brave, he's Lance Stroll. Fucking Canadians getting together. Tell you what, they're taking this, there's no Caviar Cup this year because there's only 2 of them, so there's no fucking point. But you can tell they're really serious about who's going to be the worst or the best of the billionaire boys. That's just my 2 cents. They clearly listen to this podcast. Out of all the drivers I'd want to listen, it wouldn't be those 2. But these 2 Canadians, they're fighting it out. Should I bring back the Caviar Cup? Let me know. And I will. Because they're taking it very seriously, crashing into each other. Lance Stroll didn't want to see Latifi get past him, even in quali. Dangerous precedent there, but handbags are out. Next award is the Effing One Podcast Award for making Formula One great again. And the great thing about being at home, which I rarely am for the Australian Grand Prix, I haven't missed a Grand Prix since 2002. I think I missed 2006. But 2002 onwards, missed 1 Grand Prix. It was weird being at home. It was great to see. And here, Channel 10. The coverage that was on Channel 10 was Mark Webber, Tom Clarkson, and Richard Craill. Craill, he's a local commentator, and he did a fantastic job. A big dream of his come true, to be able to call an F1 practice, qualifying, and then the race, and he did a fantastic job. Congratulations, Richard. Beautiful job against those 2 legends of Mark Webber and TC Tom Clarkson. Tom Clarkson does the Formula One podcast, Beyond the Grid, I think it's called. So yeah, Tom Clarkson, great insight. Mark Webber gives a modern driver insight, which I think is great when we have Jensen Button on Sky. But I think having, if Channel 10's quality was as good as the Sky F1, which is in 4K. Channel 10 looked like it was in SD, standard definition for those of you non-nerds. And it was shit quality on Channel 10, but the commentary, the banter, everything was really, really good. And having TC and Mark Webber do Brundle's Walk They got to cover more people as well. But Brundle did get a little bit with Casey Stoner, and Casey Stoner really knows his stuff. And I think he would be a great addition to any talking team in F1. But I tell you, get rid of Crofty. Seriously, fuck Crofty off, that chain-smoking litterbug. He can fuck right off, and then, have Mark Webber, Tom Clarkson, Richard Craill in the position. Keep all the rest of them. All the others do good jobs. The Damon Hills, the Jensen Buttons when he's on. Karun and Lazenby. They do a solid job. But Crofty, you can fuck off. I would much rather Richard Craill in that position. Congratulations, Richard Craill, for a great job over the weekend. Now the Uji Ide Award for just being shit and wasting everyone's time. We're giving it to Sebastian Vettel, the 4-time world champion, having 2 Grand Prix off, being sick with the spicy sniffles. He came back, his car broke down. Then he went out and he crashed the car. Then he was in the race and he crashed the car again. Not a good weekend for the 4-time world champion. Hopefully he can come back bigger and stronger this weekend. Or announce his retirement soon and then give Oscar Piastri a run. Now the next award, the most important coveted award for anyone in Formula One, it is the That's right, the Your Shit Award. And this week's Your Shit Award doesn't go to Nikita Mazepin, unlike last week. We're giving it to Aston Martin for just, it's self-explanatory, really. After the weekend they've had, Daddy Stroll's going off his tits. You're a bit shit, Aston. Pick up your game. I'm sure they will. They'll fight back bigger and better. But if they don't, I dare say Daddy Stroll will take his billions somewhere else. Now, for the Australian Grand Prix, the fast lap was Charles Leclerc on a 1 minute 22.60. Fastest pit stop was 2.27 from Red Bull Racing. And driver of the day, voted by you people who spend time on the Formula1.com website, says Charles Leclerc was driver of the day. Now, the third championship, the most important championship in this podcast size, it's a unique podcast and a unique championship. Now, it is the shittest of shit. If you're a shit driver, you will be featured heavily in this third championship. If you finish dead last in a Grand Prix, most of the time you get 0 points and no one cares about you. But here, in the Effing One podcast, we care. And if you're dead last, you get negative 25 points towards the third championship. Now, if you're in the from 11th to 20th, in the bottom 10 places, you will get points towards the third championship. And the leader of the third championship at the moment is Nicholas Latifi. He's on negative 35. Mad Max, the Formula One world champion of last year, is on negative 33 points. His race number in negative points in the third championship. He's sitting second. That's how shit he is. He's up there with Junior Schumacher on negative 30. Swery Sonoda, negative 26. Gasman Gasly with Mini Fonz Signs on negative 25. Now the main Fonz, he's on negative 22. The personality, Daniel Ricciardo. Fingerboy Vettel as well on negative 18. The Tier 1 Tussler, negative 15. The talented Nico Hulkenberg, negative 14. The TIE Fighter Alexander Albon, negative 10. Bare-ass Bottas, negative 8. Chuck Norris, he's on negative 8 as well. One more person on negative 8 is Daddy Boy Stroll. Wasting his dad's money, negative 8. Suck my balls, Magnussen. He's on negative 6. And the Great Wall of China, Zhou Guanyu, he's on negative 2 points. So congratulations. That is the third championship. The third championship is a championship you don't want to win, but if you are shit, you do come away with something. It's a quite a large turd that Pete put on a slab of oak, and we've sprinkled it in glitter because you can't do much else with shit. But the tips for last weekend, Cliff, you are in a total on 39 points. I'm on 40. Pete's on 36. Jimmy's on 38. And Pat Foley, he's in the lead. 41 points. Congratulations, Pat. I will hunt you down. Now it's time to switch into my San Marino outfit, which is just me covered in wet pasta. We couldn't afford the marinara sauce, but here I am, soggy spaghetti drizzled over my head. Now this weekend's race is in Imola, the San Marino Grand Prix. They raced there last year. It's a 4.909 kilometre track, 63 laps of this track. The first Grand Prix was in 1980. The race distance, 309.049 kilometres, and the race lap record is a 1 minute 15.484, thanks to Lewis Hamilton in 2020. Good track. Kind of looks like a saggy elephant penis if you turn it side on. If you haven't checked out a saggy elephant penis, what are you doing with your life? Google it right now. Don't go in incognito mode. Put it on your normal search, so when anyone else wants to look at your history, they'll see soggy elephant penis. Just do it. Don't be ashamed of what you search for. I don't. Nothing goes incognito mode. I just search everything. If you want to look at my history, you're going to find some weird shit. Just like the tyres from a Formula 1 weekend. That's what you'll find me searching. We've got the C2, C3, C4, the three middle compounds. No gap in the compounds like the last race. Now, the interesting info, I know you're all... This is what you come to the podcast for. It's not for anything else. It's not for the Turd Championship. It's not to hear about Speckled Jim's accolades. It's to know about the minimum starting pressures. Now, for the front, it is 24.5 psi. This could change after free practice 2. And the rear is 21.5 psi on the rear camber. The camber limit is 3.5 degrees on the front and 1.75 at the rear. I've seen some cars going around the Gold Coast with way too much camber on the rear. And you are just going to wear your tyres out, champ. So, looking forward to this weekend. What else is coming up? The weather. It's going to be cold on Friday and cold pretty much Sunday as well. Saturday's partly sunny, but cold on Friday. Max of 14 degrees Celsius with a few showers. Saturday, partly sunny, 14 to 21. Sunday, 10 to 18, chance of showers. Exciting times. I hope it's a wet race. I think it was last year where Hamilton and Verstappen went wheel banging, and then Bottas and Russell got together, and Kimi, great commentary. He's like, oh yeah, they crashed right in front of me. Kimi. There is something to miss about him. He said so much and meant so little. And what else happened that weekend? Oh, that was the weekend Russell decided under safety car to crash into the wall and end his race when he was in a strong points-paying position. Previous winner was Verstappen, Hamilton to Norris. Hamilton had pole with a 1 minute 14.411. And now the local food, which has been brought to you by my mother. Thanks, Mum, for dropping by and dropping off some Samarinese. So that's what they call the San Marino people. Samarinese. Their cuisine. It's cheese, wine, and pasta. Now, I don't drink alcohol, but I will have this wine. I will eat this cheese and pour it over the pasta that's sitting on my head. Enjoy this weekend's San Marino Grand Prix. It should be a humdinger, and I'll talk to you next time.